Good morning. It is the 2nd of January, and I am here to help you kick off your 2023 job search in style. So, if you are thinking of changing careers, if you are thinking of going for that promotion, if you are thinking about moving away from that toxic boss or whatever crap situation you're in, then this is going to be the video that you need to watch because we're going to go through it, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to make sure that you're set up for success. Okay, so get yourself a pen and a piece of paper because there's going to be some notes that you'll need to take and some key information that you can write down and you can come back to later. So we are going to get started. So your job search in 2023 is going to be different to any other year because we've been through the last few years, we've been through COVID, we've been through all kinds of changes in the job market. And 2023, the job market is going to start leveling out a little bit. The job market is going to get harder to be in. And also, what we're going to see is more redundancies as companies are making cuts. So, what we need to do if we are thinking about moving is we need to get ourselves set up for success. So, it doesn't matter if you get made redundant, it doesn't matter if you move and your probation period doesn't work out. It doesn't matter if the company missold you the job and you just think, what on earth am I doing here? This is not for me. So, it doesn't matter what situation you're in. And also, not forgetting the situations where you are ready for promotion. And this is a really, really good time to go for a promotion because companies are looking for good people. They're looking for people who can come in and drive their business forward. Most companies are, they're dealing with some kind of stress around revenue generation, around lead generation, around processes. There's loads and loads of things going on for companies. So, this is a really, really good time for you to think about promotion. But also, some people have said to me, well, I'm worried about moving because if I move and it doesn't work out, what does that mean? Well, if you get yourself set up for success and you are ready to make your move, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work out because you can use all of the same tools and techniques to find the next role. Okay. And, if you do your research properly, then the chances of it not being the right role are going to be massively, massively reduced. So, all of the people that I've worked with this year, it's been or last year because we're in a brand new year now, has been all about getting themselves set up and thinking about what they want, what kinds of jobs align with them, what kinds of companies are going to be the best fit, what types of teams they want to work with. A lot of people that I've spoken to this year or last year, I keep forgetting we're in a new year. So last year, were it was quite sad really because most of the people were saying, I absolutely hate my job. Going into work every single day is making me feel sick. I am not getting any fulfillment. I am not even being paid right for the work that I am doing. I am being taken advantage of, and I have had enough. Now, it's a funny thing when you start feeling negativity towards the situation that you're in because usually when I start speaking to people, I can get under the skin of what is really, really going on for them people. And a lot of the time, it comes down to you and the fact that probably you've outgrown that role. There's nothing else for you to learn. You're working with a manager that you're not learning anything from. You kind of going through the motions. Nothing is challenging you. You just feel like, is this it? Is this all there is to my career? Is this all there is to life? And once you start getting into that cycle and you don't get under the skin of what's going on, then that'll present itself in loads of different ways. So things won't go right at work. Maybe you will encounter a variety of different personalities that you do not like working with. So there'll be loads of different things that go on when you start spiraling into that real negative kind of cycle of I'm not happy, I'm unfulfilled, without realizing that the reason that you're not happy is usually because you feeling unfulfilled because the job that you're in isn't providing what you need. So everyone's different. Everybody will have their own kind of, challenge and stretch requirements from a role. So, for me, I'm always learning. I want to learn new things all the time. I want to, keep stretching myself. I want to challenge myself. I want to keep moving forward. But some people are happy to just stay where they are and do a really good job with what they're doing. And that's absolutely fine. And, the thing, the really interesting thing about preparing for a job search is that you don't have to prepare for a job search when you are ready to job search. And this is something that I take people through in the Job Search Accelerator, because when you can be going through your daily life, your job, and you're thinking everything's fine, and you're doing some great work and you're getting some great feedback, and then all of a sudden they start announcing redundancies and you're under consultation and you're in this major panic because you're going to be made redundant. And redundancy hits people really, really hard. Now, I've been made redundant 3 times, so I totally get that. Hi Naresh, nice to see you on here this morning. And yeah, Constance, you're right. When people get into that negative cycle, it is that it's the unfulfillment that affects them the most. And that is, everybody needs to feel fulfilled, even if they don't realize it. I've heard lots of people over the last 10 years say, it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as I'm earning the right money. Money will only get you so far, because if you are going through the motions on a daily basis and you're not enjoying work, that is really going to get to you at some point. Even if you're getting paid the most amazing salary and you've got all of the amazing benefits that go with that, you will still hit a point where you think, this is not right for me. But because you should be thinking everything's great because you're getting paid right and all the rest of it, you kind of don't really ever get under the skin of what's going on. Like, why am I feeling like this? Why am I not enjoying it? Why don't I like these people I work with? And it is, without realizing it, you can spiral into that quite quickly. And redundancy is another thing. People beat themselves up so much. And, redundancy for me has always been an opportunity. Now, don't get me wrong, the first couple of times, redundancy did not feel like an opportunity. Redundancy felt like the worst thing in the world. And I'd put in so much effort, especially the first time I got made redundant. I've built up a team. I was working, I was in a management position, and the team I took over was, it wasn't performing. People were demotivated. They were really unhappy in the team. And I took over the team, worked with the team. And over 12 months, we became, one of the highest performing teams in the organization. Now, then being told that you've been made redundant after all of that effort, that hit really hard. So, and I wasn't expecting it. It was totally left field. And I was like, what do I do now? Like, I've put so much effort into this job, into this company, into these people. Like, what do I do now? And then I had to then, and this is like, so maybe 15, 16 years ago. So, I had to then create a CV and get myself into job search mode when I was just feeling so much resistance to being in the job market, when I just didn't really know what I wanted to do next. I'd not thought about it. All I thought about was, creating this high performing team and making sure everyone's motivated and making sure we're hitting our targets and we're all doing well and everybody wants to come to work. And I totally forgot about me and all of that. And I know that lots and lots of people do that too. Hi, yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone too. Yeah, it is the start of a really good year. I got up this morning and the sun was shining and I thought, do you know what? I've got a feeling that 2023 is going to be a really good year. And it's always good to have that reset as well. I really don't like New Year's resolutions because I think, we have all these great intentions and like usually a list of like 10 things that we're going to do differently. And then we get so caught up in life that we don't ever you know, we get to the end of January and it's like New Year's resolutions. What? Who? You know, and it just, you know, New Year's resolutions, I'm not a fan of them. I mean, but if you've set New Year's resolutions, then, you know, and that works for you, then that's absolutely amazing. But what I would say to you is make sure that you've got a plan behind those resolutions. Okay, so someone's asking, I can't see what your name is. It's just coming up as a LinkedIn user. So you might need to click on the StreamYard link. But in answer to your question, so you've worked in 12 organizations and you've been involved in 15 projects. So how to maintain lots of projects in my resume? Okay, that's a really, really good question, because I know that I've got lots of project managers in my audience, and, you know, people generally now are involved in lots more projects in the workplace, regardless of the position that they're in. So that's a great question. And the answer to that is, you know, what you want to do for each job role is you want to talk about, you know, what you're delivering. So you want the top line, this is what I'm delivering in this role, or this is what I delivered in this role. Now, if it's projects that you're working on, and there's a number of different projects, what I'd say to you is, okay, write down all of those projects and what were the common themes within them things. What were the things that you were doing? So if you're working through the entire project life cycle, you know, you've done that in every single project. So you don't need to list 15 projects and say in every single project, I, you know, worked through the entire project life cycle, you know, and you can just pick out all of the bits that are, you know, the common themes, and you can say, this is what I've done. You might want to say, you know, these are some of the key projects that I worked on that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. So if, for example, you have just over the last couple of years, you've worked on 3 digital transformation projects, and the role that you're applying for is about digital transformation, then you would want to say, you know, on your CV that, you know, some key highlights or some relevant projects are, and, you know, list them really concisely. You don't want to give too much information. You don't want to waffle too much on your CV, because what you've got to remember is your CV is going to be skim read. Okay. Somebody is going to just skim through all of the words and pick out the key things. So you just need to make those key things pop. You need to make sure that you are only giving them the relevant information. If they want any extra information, they can ask you for that. Okay. So somebody else is asking, how do we maintain lots of companies? Oh, that's the same one. Okay, so lots of companies and individual projects. Okay, so slightly different way of asking that question. So if you've got lots of companies, so if you are a contractor, then what you might want to do, if you are working on the same projects and doing the same tasks, you might want to list an overview of what I do on these projects, and then you'd want to list, you know, the companies and the job titles underneath that, just because, you know, if you've worked at 12 organizations and managed 15 projects, that's a lot of projects to talk through when you are going to be mainly doing the same things. Or what you might want to do is break that down and talk about what you achieved, what the outcomes for each project were. Okay. Or alternatively, what you can do, and what lots of my clients have done, is, you know, create your CV, give a really like concise overview of what you've done, you know, with each company. And then you can have a back page that says, these are the projects that I've worked on, list the projects and the key outcomes and the key deliverables within those projects. And then it's up to the recruiter or the employer if they want to review that last page, or if they want to disregard it because they've got everything that they need in your CV. Okay, so if your CV has lots of pages, you need to really think about reducing that. Now, I talk about having a master CV, and your master CV, that can be 11 pages long if you want that. Okay, so if you've got, you know, if you've worked on lots and lots of different things, and you are in a position where you know, there's loads of achievements, there's loads of things that you've delivered, you can have an 11-page master CV. But when you actually start applying for roles, you will want to shorten that down and only include the relevant information, and then, you know, 2 to 3 pages maximum, because anything else is not going to be read, and also it can make you look like you are not, you know, not particularly able to talk about your experience in a concise way. Okay, so you want to show that you can, you know, demonstrate what you've delivered, but also in a way that's easy to read and, you know, isn't reams and reams of pages. Okay, so in terms of CV design, that's a great question as well. So I use a traditional layout for all of my CVs. I don't like putting photographs on CVs. I don't like all of these graphically designed things because, first of all, if your CV goes through an applicant tracking system, it's so much harder for it to be scanned. Information can be missed. And also, you know, when you're using those graphically designed ones, there isn't a great deal of space for you to articulate, you know, certain elements of your experience. So I would say use a traditional format, chronological order, and, you know, give yourself that time and space to think through, you know, what have I done and delivered over the last 10 years, and, you know, make sure that everything that you're including is relevant to the job that you're applying for. Because, you know, if you've got loads and loads of experience, which people often do, you know, people can be tempted to put absolutely everything on there, but all employers and recruiters want to see is what is relevant to the job that you know that they're advertising. Okay, so tables and columns, you know, you can use tables in your CV, but you need to make sure that, you know, the borders are on 0. I wouldn't use columns at all in your CV. You just want one column. But you can use tables if, you know, some people have lots of education, or, you know, you might want to put in key skills or whatever. You can use tables, but you just need to make sure that if you're going to use tables, that you send your CV as a PDF, because if you send your CV in a table in a Word document, then, you know, it can be all kinds of mess when you open it. And, you know, applicant tracking systems are more advanced now, but you don't want them to miss out a table. If you save it as a PDF, it'll disregard all the tables anyway. So that is the best way to do that. Okay, so the ATS can read. So if you send your CV as a PDF, the ATS is going to be able to read the information off there. It just depends on the software, really, because there's so many different ones. I mean, at the start, when the first applicant tracking system, you know, became a thing, it didn't read tables, it didn't read columns. It literally read from, you know, left to right, top to bottom, and it scanned the readable text within the document. It didn't scan PDFs, and it was quite clunky. It resulted in loads and loads of people, you know, being rejected from roles. And even now, you know, if the ATS is only ever as good as the human that inputs the information. And I think that's a key thing for people to know and people to remember as well, because lots of people will, you know, send off the CV and get an instant rejection. You know, that is not a real rejection in my book, because, you know, the applicant tracking system has scanned your CV and, you know, it's not found the words that it's looking for, but it will only find the words that the human on the other side has inputted and asked it to look for. Okay, so that's where you need to go back to the job description, and you need to go back and look at that job description and go, right, okay, what are they asking for? What terminology are they using? Does my CV reflect that? Okay, so I wouldn't put pictures on, because you can really create unconscious bias is a thing. Okay, so people will have a bias towards certain things, and sometimes they won't realize it, which is why it's called unconscious. Okay, so it can be to a whole range of things. Now, if you send a CV to somebody and they look at your picture and they've got some form of unconscious bias towards you, you know, you're not going to be successful in that application. So if you remove the picture, from the CV, then that removes, you know, almost all of the biases towards, you know, humans relate to humans. Humans will always, you know, look at a picture. You know, humans are always looking for, you know, the next human thing. My dissertation when I was back in uni was on anthropomorphic agents, and I actually did it on I don't know if you remember the Microsoft paperclip. So the Microsoft paperclip, and this is where I'm showing my age now. So the Microsoft paperclip could change into loads of different characters. Okay. Now, when I did my research on that, what I found is that most people were drawn to the most human, the human version of that help. Now, because the paperclip had eyes, and face, people felt drawn to it. But when people realized that there was other characters, they were more drawn to the little Einstein guy, the ones that looked more human. Okay, so humans are always going to relate to humans. People are always going to buy from people, but people will also make judgments based on, unconscious behaviors or unconscious, almost kind of things that have been, things might have happened. Somebody might have offended them, 10 years ago, and you send in your CV with your picture on and you look like that person, maybe that offended them 10 years ago. That is going to create a bias in their minds. Okay. So this is where, there's a lot more to it, but just as an overview, you want to leave off the photos so that you don't open yourself up to any kinds of unconscious bias. Okay. In terms of font style, steer away from Times New Roman. That's really quite difficult to read. Use something that is easy to read. Calibri or Arial are always good fonts to use. You can bold some information to make it stand out. You can use italics as well. You just want to make it easy to read, and what is appealing to you might not be appealing to someone else. So do it, ask people to review it. You can always submit. I've put my link on, it'll either, depending on which platform you're watching on, it's either going to be above this video or below. There's a link for my free CV review service. So if you update your CV and you want me to cast an eye over it and give you my opinion, then you can submit it for review there. Okay. That link is above or below, depending on where you're watching. Okay, so how can we control max and min memory size? Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed the question above. I was wondering what that was. Okay, so what do we suppose a CV KB size memory to enable to upload? Okay, so generally there isn't any real restrictions on that, so I wouldn't worry about it. If your CV is 2 to 3 pages, you're going to be absolutely fine. Right. Okay. Yeah. So the person who's asking about the projects, you don't have to detail every single element of everything that you've done within the project. You just need to give them the highlights. If you're applying for another project manager role and they're asking for, a whole loads of project management skills, then you just want to make sure that you've included those in there. But anything else that is, kind of general, just, kind of, you wouldn't want to put like things like, completing admin tasks when required. Like, you can scrap all them kinds of things out of there. Okay, so that was brilliant. So we've answered a few questions there. If you've got any questions as we go through, then just drop them in. If you're watching and you're thinking, I've got a question, but I don't want to ask it in a public forum, then just DM me. Okay, DM me on LinkedIn and I will answer. I think I've got a message here. Fab. Okay. So let's get started on the job search strategy for 2023. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do to get yourself set up for success is to make sure that your CV is ready to go. Okay, so this can be your master CV. This is the one where you're going to pile in all of the information. And this is, if you've got your CV ready to go, and what I used to do with my CV, and I mean, I've still got an updated version of my CV. I tend to use it as a way of, collating my achievements and thinking about what I've done and using it as a real reflection tool. And you can do that too. So if you get your CV and if you're updating that on a monthly basis and you're thinking, okay, what have I done this month? What have I delivered? And you can add that on to your CV, and that's onto your master version. And then when, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to move fast, you've been made redundant, you're just ready for a promotion, whatever, you've got everything contained in one document and you can pull out all the key bits. Or you can ask someone like me to go through and pick out the key bits that are relevant for the jobs that you're applying for. Okay, so the next thing is making sure you've got a cover letter. Now, I have seen loads and loads of stuff on LinkedIn recently saying, forget the cover letter's dead, you don't need a cover letter. And, you'll see this a lot. You'll see a lot of career coaches and different people, and there'll be different trends and there'll be different fads for each year. So last year, I kind of felt the fad was don't send a cover letter, move away from the cover letter. The cover letter is useless. But the cover letter, from my point of view, is an opportunity for you to give them a little bit more information about you and what you can bring to the table. Now, with your cover letter, I mean, if you are going to send a bog standard, I'm writing to apply for this role, I believe, blah, 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 like, don't send that. Don't send that. But if you are going to tell them why you're passionate about their company, about, what has drawn you to their vacancy, what you've delivered over the last couple of years and what you can really bring to the table, then that is going to give you an edge over so many other candidates, because nobody's going to write their cover letter like that. Okay. So you need to think about, okay, let's create a cover letter template. So let's start thinking about, what would I want to talk to, if I was going to say to a company, these are all the great things about, that I love about you, what is important to you now? You can start creating an outline of a cover letter. For me, the things that are important about a company are, a space where you can grow and develop, a great culture, succession planning. There's a whole range of things that really draw me to companies, or drew me to companies in the past. So, you can just start thinking about, what do you need to see from a company? And then, when you do your research, if you don't see that stuff, then you can go, okay, well, do I actually really want to apply for this position? Okay, so you want to make sure that you've got a template cover letter that, highlight your key skills that are relevant to the job, that tells them what you've delivered. So talking about, 2 or 3 key things that you've delivered that's relevant to them. Okay. And you can also create a master cover letter, and you can chop and change that to be relevant. Okay. And, once you've got your CV and your cover letter set up, then it's going to be about optimizing LinkedIn. LinkedIn again, especially if you are applying for jobs on LinkedIn, you need to make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. It is optimized, because the amount of people who apply for jobs on LinkedIn, and then you go to their profile and you're like, what on earth is going on? So for example, last year I recruited some sales management roles for a few different companies, and we used Indeed, we used LinkedIn, and we used a few other job search boards now to advertise for candidates. And what I did was, as soon as the job applications came through, the first thing I did is I went over to LinkedIn, because, for sales, I want to see how you sell yourself. I want to see how you conduct yourself in a public forum. So, let's go over to LinkedIn and see what you're all about. Go over to LinkedIn, the profiles are either unused, talking about completely different experience, or just generally out of date. And, people were active on there, but their profiles were out of date. And this kind of casts some doubt in my mind. Like, if you're a salesperson, like, why have you not got, your LinkedIn up to date? You should be using that for networking. Like, what is going on with that? Okay. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized. And that's something else as well that I cover in the Job Search Accelerator. So you can work with me in the Job Search Accelerator on a one-to-one basis, or you can just buy all of the course, which is everything that I take my clients through, and you can work through it. There's 7 steps, and that includes, your CV templates, your cover letter templates, how to do all of them, how to optimize your LinkedIn with all of the templates, and how to write it. So I don't just say, oh, this is what you should have. I actually say, right, okay, use this template, put in your own information, and yes, you can tweak all of that to really sound like you, but ultimately I'm giving you the base to start with. Okay. And then also go through all your other social media profiles as well. Make sure that, all of your Facebook, Instagram, all the rest of it are locked down, because employers will go and look. I go and look when I'm recruiting. So I headhunt for a few clients over the year, and I'm also going to be kicking off some recruitment in the next couple of weeks. And I will be looking at people's social profiles to see what they're all about, to get a little bit of an insight on them, before we speak to them, before we invite them for interview. So if you don't want people to see what's on your profiles, make sure they're locked down. Okay. So, and again, you don't want people creating a bias about you, or having any kinds of negative thoughts and feelings around you before they meet you, because you want them to be excited. So just make sure that you close down all of your social profiles. Obviously, make sure LinkedIn is optimized and completely open so that they can view everything. And then also think about, once your CV is updated and your cover letter is updated, getting that onto a few job boards so that you are then letting people come to you. You will come up in searches on those platforms. Okay. And then, another thing that, people ask me a lot is, who can I work for next? Like, I don't know what I want to do. Who would want me? Who would want me with this skill set that I've got? It is such a common question. Okay. So what I usually say to people is, okay, well, if you don't know what you want to do next, that's absolutely fine. And there are ways to find out, which direction is going to be best for you. So the best place to start when you're starting to look for jobs and think about what you want to do next is think about what salary you want to be paid and what location you want to work in. Now, once you've nailed those two things, then you can then use that as the basis, and you can search on salary. It'll take you longer because there'll be a lot more a lot more variety of roles, but you can click into those roles. You can see what they're all about, because at certain salary levels, there'll be certain expectations and certain skills that you will use. And it might be that you spot something that, you think, oh, I could really do that. And I think I might enjoy doing that, but I would never have considered it, but it is in line with my salary expectations. So, you can start thinking outside of the normal ways of job searching. And, you will hear people, and this is another fad from last year as well. So the hidden jobs market. So yeah, the hidden jobs market does exist. And for anybody that doesn't know what the hidden jobs market is, the hidden jobs market are the jobs that are not yet advertised. So all of the jobs that you see advertised, out there in job board world, all of those jobs account for about 20% of the overall vacancies. We've got a few questions, so I'll come back to those as well in a sec. So they account for like 20% of the overall vacancies. The other 80%, well, they're filled through networking, through referrals, through having conversations with different people and putting yourself out there. Now, you can apply directly to companies and you can say, this is what I'm looking for. Would my skill set fit? Are there any vacancies or anything? Is anything coming up that would suit my skill set? And you can, ask, can we have a conversation? Can we catch up? Can we have a chat? Can we talk about what might be coming up in the future? Because I really love to work for your company for all of these different reasons. And, you can get the conversation going. Now, tackling the hidden jobs market can take a while because, what you are doing is you don't know where those vacancies are. So you are using your network, you are having conversations. It can take a while. So I would never say purely focus on, the hidden jobs unless you've got, you're pretty secure in your current role and you've got lots of time to do that, then absolutely. You should always have a combination of, direct applications, job board applications, and, start looking at what networking events and things like that are available to you. Now, lots of people don't like going to events, and that's fine. There's so many online things now that you can go to, and you can start creating or building your network, and use LinkedIn to build your network. Okay, make connections on LinkedIn. Start having conversations with people on LinkedIn as well. Okay, LinkedIn is the best place for networking. Okay, so in terms of the next steps in the process of your job search. So you should be connecting with recruiters. You should be checking that, the referees that you're going to put on your application forms are happy to provide those references. And what you don't want to do is go through the process. Sometimes the process can move really quickly. You put your references on and then find that actually they're out of the country or they're not willing to give a reference or whatever it is. So make sure that you have asked the people who are going to be your referees, if they are happy to do that for you. Okay, so let's see what questions we've got. Okay, so would you recommend writing a CV before the job search. So absolutely. So I think that you should have your CV as a working document, that it should be updated every single month. So this also fits in really nicely to your your performance reviews or your appraisals, because if you, and most companies are really hit and miss with appraisals and one-to-ones and things like that. But realistically, what you should be doing is you should be recording what you're delivering on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, and that should be feeding into your one-to-one with your manager. It should also be added to your CV, because when you need to be in job search mode, your brain will be that focused on, oh my goodness, now I'm in job search mode. I don't like interviews. I don't think my CV looks good. Where are the jobs? How do I find them? All this stuff starts going through your head. And what that does is it creates noise that stops your brain from kind of really focusing in on all of the good things that you've delivered. If you've got your CV updated on a monthly basis with all of the good stuff that you're doing, then all you need to do is go to that document, take out the relevant bits, and then there's your CV that's tailored and relevant and ready to send. Okay, so if you do that, then you will be you'll be ahead of the game. You'll be ahead of everyone else. You'll feel better. It'll also form the first part of your interview prep as well. Okay, so how to highlight the skill set for shortlisting. Okay, so in terms of, tailoring your CV, you should always be using the job description, looking at what they're asking, what is the purpose of the role. Don't just be thinking of bullet points and, the different points they're asking for. Go a bit deeper, ask yourself, what is the purpose of this role? What do they really want to see? What do they need to read to know that I'm the right person for the job? Okay, so cover letter and CV should be different. Yeah, you're right. There's lots of advice that I've seen recently, which I don't agree with, which is that your cover letter is basically the summary from your CV. So they read your cover letter and like, oh, this person sounds good. And then they open your CV and it's like, oh, this is more of the same. Use the cover letter as an opportunity to show your passion, to show, a little bit more about what you've delivered and how you are relevant to them. Okay, so Constance saying, when I was a hiring manager, a cover letter signified that the candidate was interested in the job and has already made an effort with their application. Yeah, absolutely, because, to write a cover letter that's disruptive, that's a little bit different to all of the others, that doesn't start with, I am writing to apply, blah, blah, blah. A cover letter that hits them hard of, this is why I'd love to work for your company. This is what I can bring to the table. And here are some of my key achievements over the last couple of years that show I'd be a perfect candidate for your role. Those cover letters are really quite different and really nice to read. And as a recruiter, when you get those letters, you're like, oh, wow. And straight away, you're so excited about meeting that person. And I don't know about you, Constance, but, when I'm recruiting and I get a really good cover letter and CV, I'm like, oh my goodness, I want you to win because you sound amazing on paper. And then I go over to your LinkedIn profile and it's optimized and it's, talking the same language as your CV and your cover letter. And I'm like, this person has really made an effort. This person, is really joined up, and I am super excited about speaking to them and about hearing all about their experience and how it's relevant to this role. So, you can almost feel, get that excitement. And when you get excited about a candidate, you really want them to win. And, most of the time they're the candidates that get the job offers as well. Okay, so let's see. So email address definitely should be a professional one. I've seen, it's not as bad now since Barclays did their advert in the UK around email addresses and what I think they give a few funny examples and said this is how not to do it. Email addresses have massively improved, but over the years I've seen some real funny ones. There are still a few that come through where I just like, can you just create an email address that's got your name in it? Because, let's just make it easier, especially, when you email somebody, it saves in your Outlook. So, when you then, type in their name, their email address comes up and it's like brilliant, dead easy to email somebody like that. When they've used something different or something random, you're like, oh my goodness, what is their name? You've got to go back through and search and all the rest of it. So just make your job search life easier, make their recruitment life easier, and just make sure you've got an email address that's got your name, that sounds professional. And Constance says she gets excited by a brilliantly written cover letter, and it's so refreshing to get them through, and that's why I encourage people to do them, because you think you're watching this and other people, everyone will be doing the same. Everybody does not do the same. Okay, so so I recruited for 4 sales managers last year, and that we probably got about just over 200 CVs maybe across the 4 roles. And I would say out of that many CVs, there's probably 3 or 4 that were actually tailored, that I actually got excited about speaking to those people. Those are the people that get snapped up really quickly. So don't be fooled into thinking that everybody does the same thing, because they don't. Okay, so in order to get yourself job search ready for 2023, I'll just give you a quick recap. So make sure your CV is up to date. Make sure you've got a cover letter template that's ready to go, that you can adapt for all the different roles that you're applying for. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is optimized. If you are kind of if you're having a crisis of confidence, you need to kind of think, I need confidence to move forward, but I need to also take action to build the confidence. So never ever wait for confidence to show up. Always take the action, and the confidence will catch you up later. And you need to just think, if you don't know what's next for you, then think about, okay, well, what is the salary and what is the location that is important to me, and use that as a basis of your job search. And then as you search for more and more roles and you read through the requirements, then you can start thinking about actually what you want to do. And also what you can do is think back to all the things that you've loved and hated about previous roles, and make sure that the next role is contains all the stuff that you love and that you do want to do. Okay, so and then obviously you need to start thinking about prepping for interviews. So using the initial application process to think about what might they ask me, what will they want to know from me. Start creating your your interview prep bank, so you've already started thinking about it, and it's so much easier to prep once you've started thinking about it. And then it is about creating that job search strategy that works for you. So is it job boards? Is it is it through networking? Is it through thinking about the hidden jobs and putting yourself forward to companies, and really putting yourself out there? There's loads of different ways. Also, a couple of my clients recently have been asking for referrals from people that they know in different companies. That's been really successful in getting them interviews. So there's loads of different ways that you can approach the job market, but it has to be a way that's right for you. If you don't like networking, if if putting yourself out there and starting to network like fills you with dread, then don't do it. Don't do it just because somebody says it's the right thing to do. If it's not right for you, don't do it. Okay, so when you work with me, it's about what is right for you, what works for you, and then it's about me giving you that level of accountability and that support in order to move forward. And depending on how fast you want to move, then that determines how fast we move together. So if you're interested in working with me, if you want to accelerate your job search, if you want me to write your CV or even just review your CV, all of the links are above. Or you can just drop me a message and I will be happy to talk you through the services that I provide, no obligation, and send you all of the information. Everything is also on my website, so you can go over to www.pamelalangan.com or Google Queen of Careers and I will be there at the top. And if you are thinking about job searching, if you're worried about the security of your job this year, get yourself ready, get yourself prepared, and make sure that you're going into the process with your eyes wide open. You will feel so much better going into the job search process prepared, and it's a good opportunity to start thinking, okay, well, it is time for a promotion or it is time for a pay rise. Start getting yourself set up now, so that you're ready to move should you spot anything or should an opportunity pop up. The amount of people who get put forward for promotion and have not written a CV or updated their CV in 10 years, who come on to me and say, I need a CV for tomorrow. And it's like, I've got to give it to my manager tomorrow. as a promotion opportunity. And I'm like, right, okay, let's do it. But don't put yourself in that position. There'll be loads of stuff that you miss off. So just make sure that you get yourself set up in advance, allocate some time, and make sure that you are really putting the focus on your career. Don't let the things that you need to do for different companies or for the company that you work for take precedence over your job search and your career and your future, because you can put everything in like I did and still get made redundant. So make sure that this year you're putting you first, that you are set up for success and ready to roll if you need to, or if an opportunity arises, or if you think it's the right time. Okay, so thank you for listening, and drop me a message if you've got any questions. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to tag me in the comments below, and I will see you all soon.